The Doug Rising Show. Yeah, the Doug Rising Show. Yeah, the Doug Rising Show. And I'm Doug Rice. I want people passing out. No, seriously. Right there in the band, 2, 3 horns, just keel over. Good morning. Doug Rice. Don't get scared. It's just me. Relax. 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 It's 7 a.m., folks. 7 a.m. on a Monday. As we tumble toward prophecy. Here it comes. It's nearly here. It's nearly here. Hey, it's just itching. You know, it's itching for a scratch. Let me tell you why they're through. I told my wife this just before I came on. There is obviously a video going on. Got the Attorney General of the United States of America, one Merrick Garland. Yes, you feel the backbone in that character, do you? Well, he decided to show his emotional connection to just how all the plights involving the attacks on the American democracy he loves so much are just yanking at his weakened craw. And I looked upon the TV and saw this man starting to shed tears. And it validated all my fears. I will tell you why. Because as he let his tears fly, my mind thought aside of the individuals that are so ready to go into action, ready to get some violent satisfaction. And on the other side of the aisle are individuals who either cry or smile. America is finished. I will say it again because you need to hear this. America is done. Look, you got the Attorney General of the United States of America standing in front of a podium, busting the tears of emotion over the attack of democracy he appears too weak to defend. And let me say this, folks, because I'm not going to pretend I look at who's behind Donald Trump. Let me tell you. Okay? These folks ain't down to pray. These folks are down to get down. I'm telling you. And so the pundits I see on TV, all smartly dressed, staring back at me, if they're the last defense of America, boy, let me tell you, we got to get out of here. Is this over? All right, thanks so much for showing up. This is the Doug Rice Show. 7:04 in the morning. I usually give you something to think about, though, you know. It's the 2nd of October, October 2nd. And here come all of the joyous, just the festivities of demonology that is about to just come asunder. I've already looked across the street, and no wonder they've got the ghosts and goblins out. Yeah, buddy. Well, we'll see how this goes. All right, so thanks for showing up, folks. I appreciate it. My name is Doug Rice, and let me tell you what I do. I typically have just something to say. Effectively, I write throughout the day. That's what I do. I am a writer, and I specialize in Negro prose. Yeah, you know it. I'm one of those. And every day around 7 a.m., I come on this channel, the Doug Rice Show, and I try to express to you exactly what I know. And, well, you can take my word for it because I said so. I don't know. I've been talking most of my adult career. I've always had someone's ear. So never without a thought, never without something to talk about. Today, we gonna scream and shout, yes, Babylon to Timbuktu. Boy, let me show you what we about to do here. Now look, Rudolph R. Windsor. Rudolph, yes, this is a brother. Rudolph R. Windsor has put together, I think, one of the most insightful publications any brother or sister might get their hands on. I offer this as a free copy to any of you that might ask. It is certainly up to your mental task. You take this in, and again, you will win, because the knowledge imparted within is just, wow. It's amazing. It is. It's good stuff, folks. And I've been wanting to go over this one. Yesterday's show was marginal for me. I did not. The topics for yesterday, I'm getting too cerebral, okay? So I gotta kind of bring it down a little bit. Not like I'm in a cathedral. You know I was gonna go there, so stop. From Babylon to Timbuktu, Rudolph R. Windsor. That's a powerful name. Again, folks, thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and hit the like, the subscribe, the share button. I don't know about the notification bell. People tell me it doesn't work well. We got the trainer as moderator extraordinaire. She should be right in there. And if you get out of line, she will boot your behind out of chat. And that will be that. All right. So, again, this is a cool volume, Babylon to Timbuktu. We're going to go over this wonderful, the historic ancient Black races, including the Black Hebrews. Now, I know some of you may not be able to read that. My apologies. This is a different kind of a presentation. You'll be able to read some of it as we move on, but I'll read some of it for you. Until comparatively recent times, knowledge that Black Africa was the seat of highly evolved civilizations and cultures during a time when Europe was small-minded to a small group of scholars. Was limited to a small group. It is hard to read. That great empires such as Ghana and later Mali flourished for centuries, while Europe slept through its dark ages almost has been ignored by historians. Thousands of years before that, as Rudolph R. Windsor notes in this enlightening book, civilization began with the Black races of Africa and Asia, including the Hebrews, who in biblical times were jet black. Then Western Europe had no nations as such, and its Stone Age inhabitants had but the crudest tools and lived in caves. Because of the scarce literature on the contributions of Blacks to world civilization, most people today held the erroneous opinion that the Black races have little real history. It was not known, for instance, that the ancient Hebrews, Mesopotamians, Phoenicians, and Egyptians were Black. Now a growing body of literature is presenting the illustrious history of the Blacks and their enormous contributions. This carefully researched book is a significant addition to this vital field of knowledge. It sets forth in fascinating detail the history from Africa recorded times of Black races, from the earliest recorded times of the Black races of the Middle East and Africa. Mr. Windsor's discussion of Islamic civilization and the movement of the Black Hebrews to all parts of Africa is edifying and absorbing. Readers, regardless of race, will find this factual story of a noble heritage of valuable enrichment to their knowledge of world history. Well, there it is there. Shall we? Yes. Yes, we shall. Yes, we shall. And so, there we got it. Guy wrote a book. Hey, there he is. Let's take a look at it. Here we go. This is the brother. This is a biography. We're going to go over this slow, okay? Here's the reason why. Because you need to know, and that's no damn lie. Now, I don't know what you normally do on a Monday morning at 7 o'clock, but I don't care. This needs to be shared. This has to be. All right, here we go. This is the biography of Mr. Rudolph Windsor. And we know that name is It's time, but let's see. Rudolph Windsor, born in Long Branch, New Jersey. Nice. After living in a number of Jersey communities, his family settled in Philadelphia, where he attended a community college studying psychology and political science. Gratz College, where he majored in Hebrew, Aramaic studies, and Temple University, where he majored in Middle Eastern studies. In addition, he had 4 sons and a daughter. He says of his book, "My motive in writing it was to give the true history of the Afro-American, which has been excluded from textbooks." Professor Windsor is a strong advocate of the economic and cultural development of the Black community. In serving the community, he has been a member and president of several organizations, was a delegate to the Black Power Conference in 1968, and was designated a delegate on behalf of Ethiopian Jews to meet with Mr. Makomen, an official of the Ethiopian mission to the United Nations in the early 1970s. Moreover, Mr. Windsor is the author of the book, Valley of the Dry Bones, subtitled The Conditions That Face Black People in America. As a result of some difficulties with several book companies, Mr. Windsor established his own company called Windsor's Golden Series Publication. In 1988, Mr. Windsor redesigned his first book, From Babylon to Timbuktu. Again, Mr. Windsor over the years has appeared on radio and TV talk shows, lectured at congregations, organizations, universities, and has traveled to Europe and the Middle East, to say the least. Yes! So, we're looking into this publication, and I encourage you first and foremost that if you truly want to follow the guidelines of good order and good manners, please contact directly the individuals who provide this publication and get it from them. I will not charge a dime to give you my copy. And the reason I say that is because it simply requires a Google search to obtain your own. I will also have no shame in offering you this, along with many others, for any donation that you might so inclined be to give. Because, hey, there's some way I gotta live. All right, that's it. Let's continue with this. So they've got more photos, kind of looks nice, you know, I'll show it. I mean, I am Doug Rice. Benefit dinners honoring honors Grenham and Emma Berger, message from Ed Asner. Ed Asner. Now listen, folks, if you are a prominent Jew anywhere in the sight of good writing, more likely you might say something. But, you know, I wonder what he might say about the 13th tribe. I wonder what Ed Asner might say, or would he snide? I just wanted to do that. Ed Asner, we got some more photos here. Just want to share them with you. Ethiopian Jewish children. I can't read that, but you can tell those are Negroes, okay? I mean, it's not a hard sell, right? All right, let's continue. Okay, now here we go with the actual the book face, the title cover page. From Babylon to Timbuktu, a history of the ancient Black races, including Black Hebrews. Folks, this is the kind of information provided by Rudolph R. Windsor for the Negro Nation that so many in high stations do not want in their school spaces. You know, Ron DeSantis, I would love to have him see this show. No? Okay, let's go. Let's continue. Boom. All right, so first edition, 69. I just wanted to go over that if you don't mind. You know, all the editions. This thing's been around. Now, I got to tell you something, folks. You know, they don't reprint editions like this if people ain't buying them. This absolutely contains some vital and, I would say, critical information for all of us in attendance to today's and tomorrow's, and who knows if I do, you know, maybe a week thing, I don't know. Dedicated to my mother, Letta Jones, who worked so hard to rear her 5 children and who encouraged me in the writing of this book. Yes, behind every strong and logically put together Black man is absolutely another strong and absolutely put together black man supported by an absolutely strong and well put together black woman. That's right. You didn't expect me to go there. All right, so I'm not going to read the preface unless you really, if you insist. Okay, fine. This book is intended as a supplement to existing literature on African and Black Hebrew history. To get a background knowledge of the history of the Black races, the reader is urged to start at the beginning and continue to the end. The aim is to present material that will not only inform and interest the reader, but will impart truth, self-confidence, and racial pride to the Black man, and at the same time enlighten the general public concerning the contributions to civilization of the ancient Black races. In general, I have tried to follow a chronological approach in the book, but it has been difficult to maintain a 100% consistently. Certain subjects are to some extent repeated because I have elsewhere dealt with another phase of the same material. In many cases, a refresher is provided in order to bring the reader up to date. I have consulted many scholars in the compilation of this work. Basil Davidson is an authority on African history. Moreover, Alan H. Godbey and Joseph Williams are excellent scholars on the Black Hebrews, but I have not hesitated to differ from them in some instances. It behooves me to express my debt to the faculty of Gratz College, who taught me much and helped make this book possible. Among these are such distinguished scholars as Dr. Eleazar Goldman, Dean, Daniel Isaacman, Registrar, Dr. William Chomsky, Dr. Samuel Pitlick, Dr. Samuel Kirkman, Dr. Sidney M. Fish, Dr. Esra Shereshewski, Dr. Samuel L. Lax, Abraham Mathon, Rabbi Shlomo Balta, and Rabbi Shlomo Margeli. I also want to express my gratitude to my family, uncles, and nieces who gave me much encouragement. Well, isn't that nice? And with that read, let's continue to see if we can get to the dadgum contents of the book. Gee, okay, we're here. So we got prefaces. I mean, dear God, the prefaces go on, don't they? Just kidding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 epilogue notes. I think we can get this. I think we can handle this. Can we handle this, folks, over the next couple of days? What do you think? I think so. So I want to kind of go over the contents a little bit with you, though. Okay, so he starts ancient Black civilizations, Sumer and Kish. And he jumps to the origin of the white race. Well, look at this. He jumps down to African Asian culture, goes to Europe, the Egyptians, the original Black Jews, Black civilization in Africa. I'm just reading the headlines, folks. And then the final dispersion of the Black Jews of Africa. And look how it breaks it down like a fraction. I hope you can see that video interaction. All right, so this is a well put together piece of publication and available for your edification and anyone who requests it in the Negro Nation or anyone else for that matter. All right, so chapter 1. And again, we're just going to review this until we're done. Again, I'm not going to go over every aspect and word. I mean, that would be utterly and totally absurd. I'm just going to go over the chapter summation. And I think that'll put you in good station. What do you think? Don't ask. All right. Ancient Black civilization. Let me take a drink. Here we go. Of water, folks. I'm doing a show. More than 6,000 years ago, the land called Mesopotamia, they developed the most remarkable civilization known then to mankind. Yeah, I switched it. This civilization was centered between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. These rivers began in the mountains of Armenia, I believe, Armenia, who knows, and flow in a southeastern direction toward the Persian Gulf. The soil of this area is tremendously fertile because of the alluvial deposits brought down by the two rivers. European civilization developed from ancient black civilization. Ooh, let me read that again. Yes. European civilization developed from ancient black civilization. Let's continue. Without this black civilization, white domination and influence, as we know it today, would have been improbable. Powerful, powerful, powerful statement. And here's the reason I'll read that with such gravitas. I need to pause. Look, for the cause. Look, I got a guy, Senator King, that's his name. This is, remember, this guy claims that Europe is the seat of civilization. He stops right there. I mean, this guy, I mean, you gotta understand the pompous air of this dude, as he's allowed to exude the falsehood about his origins. But we're gonna get into it. Let's get into it a little more again. Oh, stop, I'm just doing a thing. Continue. A number of different tribes were entrenched in the southern parts of the Tigris-Euphrates region. This southern section was known at different times by many names. Among the name best known to us is Babylonia. This area was also the location of the Garden of Eden. And the people of this region were jet black. Now listen, there's a number one after black. They have an area of reference either at the back of the book or shortly following these pages will kind of give you a reference to what they're staging. I shall prove conclusively that the black people have the most ancient history of all humans. The best available source of proof is the ancient history of the Jews known as the Bible. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. In Genesis 2:10, it is written, and a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into four heads. There were four rivers which watered the Garden of Eden. I shall cite the third and the fourth rivers first. Then I shall proceed to the first and the second rivers, because it fits better into my line of reasoning. Oh, let's get into this, shall we? Genesis 2:14 reads, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel. I'm just hitting it. That is it, which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Commentators and scholars have identified the river Hiddekel. They say it is the Tigris River. Now I shall cite Genesis chapter 2, verse 13. And the name of the second river is Gihon. The same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. Because the Garden of Eden is associated with the land of Ethiopia, we can conclude that the people were black. Rashi, the 11th century commentator on the Bible, said that the Gihon is the Nile River that bows through eastern Africa. Rashi most likely makes this point because the Nile flows in Ethiopia and into Egypt. So, I'm setting the stage throughout this page, and I can imagine our enemy's rage. Oh, well, relax. Dr. Spicer, who was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, said, there's no basis for the deterring of the Gihon to Ethiopia. He meant the Ethiopia in Africa, not to mention the Pishon in various remote regions of the world. I agree with Dr. Spicer that we should not search for the Gihon in Africa, nor the Pishon in a remote area of the earth, but that we should search for the Pishon and the Gihon in the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. There were two Ethiopian nations in ancient times, Eastern Ethiopia and Western Ethiopia. This is extremely important. This point Dr. Spezia failed to elucidate, and possibly because of an oversight. There was an Ethiopian civilization in southern Mesopotamia, Babylon, but the people in this region did not use their tribal name, Ethiopia, to designate their nationality. They called themselves by the name of the cities that they constructed and inhabited, or they called themselves by an event that happened there. For example, God confused the language of the people at the Tower of Babel. Babel means confusion in Hebrew. This is why the Ethiopian tribes called themselves Babylonians, referring to the name of the city that they constructed. Well, do tell. I had no idea. Yes, I did. I read a little bit, but interesting. And, I'm going to say I've heard others on other shows bring this knowledge to the fore. Brother Yacoba and his brother T.L. Ministries and Dante Fortune, I believe, also has recommended this publication. So let's see what else it has to show to us as a nation. Here we go. There are many nations that are not designated by their true nationality. For example, the white Australians came from England, but those Englishmen who live in Australia do not call themselves by their ancestral name. They call themselves by the name of the country which they colonized, which is Australia. The people of Australia are represented in the United Nations by the name of their nation, Australia, and not under their ancestral name, England. Very interesting point. The people who resided in the lower part of the Tigris-Euphrates Valley were Ethiopian, black in complexion. We read in Genesis chapter 10, verse 8, that Cush begat Nimrod. The word Cush means Ethiopia, and Cush was the father of the Ethiopians. For the meaning of the word Cush, see Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary. Nimrod was a mighty Ethiopian conqueror and builder in the land of Shinar. We find in Genesis chapter 10, verses 8 and 10 that Nimrod ruled over such cities as Babylon, Erech, Akkad, or Akkad. All these cities are situated in the land of Shinar. Another name for Shinar is Sumer. This civilization was of a high order and one of the oldest civilizations in ancient times. In Genesis chapter 10, verse 7, we read, and the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah now have learned that Havilah was the son of Cush, who was an Ethiopian. The word Havilah became the name of a tribe and a region known as the land of Havilah, and the Havilites, Ethiopians, lived in the land of Havilah. Moreover, scholars have located this land near the Persian Gulf. In search of the land, Havilah, we find that there was another Havilah who was one of the sons of Joktan. Read Genesis chapter 10, 26 and 29. But this Havilah was of the line of Shem. Read Genesis 10, 22. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The children of Shem are called Shemites. The sons of Ham are called Hamites, and the sons of Japheth are called Japhites. We should not confuse Havilah, the son of Joktan, with Havilah, the son of Cush. Say this again. We should not confuse Havilah, the son of Joktan, with Havilah, the son of Cush. Now, it is logical to conclude that The son of Cush is intended in Genesis 2:11 to be the Havilah in the land of Havilah because that Havilah was a Cushite, Ethiopian. His liberation would naturally be adjacent to his brother Nimrod, who ruled Babylon. Now that's a lot to take in, isn't it? That's just the introduction. Good Lord. So there's a lot to unpack there. You guys, I'm certainly will take the time to do so. We're going to move forward because, I choose so. Just kidding. We're going to go to the chapter that I know everybody wants on the show. I don't want to pass this one by. You'll see. Chapter 2, just for you. The origin of the white race. Shall we? Yes, we shall. Again, we're going over, just to give you a review, we're going over Babylon to Timbuktu, and that is by Rudolph R. Windsor. All right, and this publication really is available to anyone that asks. Just simply ask, and we will get to the task. Chapter 2, here we go. The origin of the white race. Invite your friends, folks. After the destruction of mankind by the flood, Noah and his wife, his 3 sons and their wives, the only people that were saved. Let me stop there, if I may. That is a very, very contiguous story that is played throughout history, and all these civilizations conclude that there was a boat where a specific number of people were rescued. So that is a great place to start. Let's continue. Okay. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From these 3 sons of Noah was the whole earth populated. The ark rested on Mount Ararat. Mount Ararat was located in the land of Armenia. Word Armenia and Ararat mean high ground. The entire earth at this time was of one speech and one language. Most of the people dwelled in the plain of Shinar. In Hebrew, the valley of Shinar. Men began to congregate in the territory and to build a tower up to heaven. The Jewish historian Flavius Josephus says, God also commanded them to send colonies abroad for the thorough peopling of the earth. But the people did not obey God. Now, when man was in the process of building the tower, God disapproved of its construction because it showed a disbelief in his word. Now, stop. I want to go back there. Now, this is from the word of Flavius Josephus. He is saying that God also commanded them to send colonies. I'm not saying that it wasn't said in Scripture, but it would stand to reason that colonies would more likely divide amongst tribes. And, wasn't this confluence congregation of just a thrown together nation of people from every station. No, because Negroes eventually became set apart. This is the reason the Creator came down on this hard. All right, let's continue. Here we go. Sorry. Okay, the divine had promised Noah that he would not destroy the earth by water again. Nimrod, the Ethiopian, was the leader and the conspirator against God. Lead conspirator. He was a mighty man and a conqueror. He held the people under his dictatorship. When God considered what had been done, he confused men's language and scattered them toward the 4 directions of the earth. The sons of Noah were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Because the world was populated from these 3 sons of Noah, it is proper to classify men only according to this classification: Shemites, Hamites, and Japhites. I agree. And not Caucasoid, Mongoloid, or Negroid. I will stand for that assertion. I probably won't do it, but I understand where he's coming from. The latter category is a modern anthropological classification that we will deal with more thoroughly later. The parts of the earth inhabited by the children of Shem were parts of the territory of Assyria and Elam, Persia, east of the Tigris River, the eastern part of Syria, and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Did you catch that? All the children of Shem were black. This position will be supported by arguments and facts later. The second classification of mankind was the Hamites, who controlled the great centers of civilization in ancient time, 4000 BC, soon after the flood. This civilization included the continent of Africa, the land of Canaan, Israel, parts of Arabia, Syria, Phoenicia, Turkey, Babylonia, southern Persia, Iran, East Pakistan, and a large part of India. The third classification of mankind was the Japhites, from Japheth, who was the youngest son of Noah. The offspring of Japheth occupied the Isles of the Gentiles. The offspring of Japheth occupied the islands of the Gentiles, the shore territories of the Mediterranean Sea in Europe, and parts of Asia Minor, whence they dispersed northward over the entire continent of Europe and a great part of Asia. Are we done? Are we done? After Noah's ark rested on the mountain of Ararat and the dispersal of the children of men of the Tower of Babylon, Japheth's descendants traveled west, north, and northeast of the mountain of Ararat and the Caucasus Mountains. The Japhites settled near the mountains Taurus and Amanus in Turkey. I can't really see it, so I'm hoping I'm doing that. They journeyed to the river, it looks like Tanais, in southeast where? Russia. And along Europe in Cadiz, Spain, where the sons of Japheth were, let's read it together for sure, Gomer, Magog, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tiras. Find that at Genesis 10:2. Gomer was the ancestor of the first Cimmerians and of the later Cimbri, including other offshoots of the Celtic family and the present-day Giles of Ireland, Scotland, and the Hebrides Islands. These Cimmerians were described by Homer the Greek as dwelling in a remote place of mist and gloom. This place was located north of the Black Sea. Now listen carefully to me. So we got movies that kind of express what we here now address, right? Conan the Barbarian, he's a Sumerian, right? Varian, right? He prays to the god Crom, right? Oh no, I know what you're on, right? And I mean, listen, folks, we're cousins, but we're not the same. Three different, sons had children with three different wives. I'm not even going to know what goes on in their lives. We're not even discussing any kind of impurities that these three women might be talking about, because the purity was, in my mind, in my understanding, in the sons of Noah. And we know since the Nephilim and the fallen paired with women, we know how some women may have been brought into the world in some way tainted still with that Nephilim within them. So it's interesting to watch how all of this goes. It's interesting to read the facts and bring it, All right, so let me see. Should I go to the next page? Or should I just stay? No, I'm going to go ahead into chapter 3. Why not? Chapter 3. Well, looky here. Afro-Asian culture goes to Europe. Well, let's see what this has to say. Afro-Asian culture goes to Europe. Well, let's see what? Wait a minute. The Sumerians, Babylonians, and Ethiopians were black people. They contributed much to the advancement of civilization. Because they studied astrology, they were capable of formulating many principles of astronomy. These black people were so sagacious and skillful that they were able to divide the years into months, weeks, hours, minutes, and seconds. In mathematics, they developed the decimal system. The most famous of the Babylonian kings was Hammurabi, who ruled about 2150 BC. He was outstanding for his codification of a system of laws founded on retaliation as the punitive measure for a crime. Interesting. He also established a 7-day week with a last day, rest day, or Sabbath. This idea was adopted by the Hebrews and then transmitted to the Greeks, Romans, and other Europeans. The literature of the Babylonians is quite interesting. Long ago, these black people wrote with a sharp instrument on clay tablets. Thousands of these tablets have been found, and some of them disclose a popular work known as the Enuma Elish, or the Creation Epic. The story of how the world began derived from the Babylonians. After the dispersal of mankind at the Tower of Babel, the Black Hamites migrated toward the east, south, southwest, and the west. These Black Hamites settled in the land of Canaan. Later on, it was called Israel. The land of Canaan gets its name from the youngest son of Ham, who was Canaan. The Canaanites were the primordial aborigines of the land of Canaan. We may call them Africans because of their blood relationship to other inhabitants of the African continent. There were 11 Canaanite tribes living in the land of Canaan and surrounding it before the black Israelites possessed it. The greatest cultural and commercial cities of these black Canaanites were Tyre and Sidon, and sometimes written Zidon. This city gets its name from Sidon, the firstborn son of Canaan. The Sidonians and the Tyrians were of the same race, and their kings ruled over both of these cities. In many history books, you will read about these Sidonians under the name Phoenicia. The Greeks called the Sidonians Phoenicians, land of palm, because they found many palm trees there. But the Sidonians called their nation by the name of Canaan. Phoenicia, or land of the Sidonians, was located to the north of Palestine, along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, surrounded by that sea on the west, hounded by that sea on the west, and by the mountain ranges of Lebanon on the east. Tyre and Sidon were founded about 2300 BC. The Tel El Amarna tablets show that Tyre was a place of great strength in the 15th century BC. Sidon was still older. For a long time, it was only the black Phoenician city known to the Greeks. Sorry about that. Even after Tyre took the leadership of the Greeks, and the Hebrews spoke of the Phoenicians as Sidonians, and King Ethbal of Tyre is called King of the Zidonians. Now, I know that may have been a bit confusing, but I had to read it as I see it. Moving on. These black people were proficient in philosophy, astrology, geometry, arithmetic, and navigation. They had good harbors, which enabled them to navigate to distant lands, such as Cyprus, Sardinia, Crete, Rhodes, Cadiz in Spain, Sicily, Carthage in North Africa near Tunis, Tangier, Ophir, and the Canary Islands. These Phoenicians were skilled also in metalwork, needlework, and embroidery. They extracted dye from shellfish abounding in the adjacent waters. This dye became known later as Tyrian purple. They made glass from white sand of the Mediterranean coast. The Phoenicians spoke a Hamitic Semitic language so closely allied to the Hebrew that Phoenician and Hebrew, through different dialects, may practically be regarded as the same language. As it was previously stated, there were 11 Canaanite tribes: Sidonians, Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgasites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and the Hanathites. Hebrew has its origin in the Canaanite language. When Abraham came from the region of Babylon into the land of Canaan, he found the Canaanite language similar to his own language. Abraham communicated very well with the inhabitants of the new land, adopted the Canaanite language, made certain modifications, and it became known as Hebrew. The Hebrew language was very similar to the Canaanite, says the Bible Dictionary. Phoenician or Canaanite can be classified as an African language because the Canaanites were blood brothers of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Nubians, Sudanese, and other Africans. The Phoenicians established a colony in North Africa called Carthage, and they, the Carthaginians, always considered themselves Canaanites. When Moses led the black Israelites out of Egypt, Northeast Africa, Moses died in the wilderness. Then Joshua led the Israelites into the land of Canaan and dispossessed the Canaanites. Now it is written in a Jewish book called the Babylonian Talmud. When the Africans came to plead against the Jews before Alexander of Macedon, they said, Canaan belongs to us, as it is written, the land of Canaan with the coast thereof. And Canaan was the ancestor of these people, ourselves. These Canaanites or Africans were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua. About 332 BC, Alexander conquered Palestine. And as stated above, the Africans came to Alexander claiming that the land of Canaan belonged to them. The point that I meant to elucidate is that these Canaanites considered themselves Africans. Consequently, we can now correctly say that the Hebrew Canaanite language is one of the African languages. Well, I'll be. There's a lot to unpack there, as you can see. Folks, you know, when we bring receipts, when we look at these PDFs, listen, just, eat the meat, spit out the bone, leave the rest of the nonsense alone. I got that from T.I. Ministries. Brother Yakoba told me that one. So that's the real. That's the deal. This is some incredible information, and I'm happy to share it with the entire nation. I think Negroes should start from the start. I mean, that's the truth is what'll rip your heart, won't it? I'm just sorry, I just went there. All right, so let's do chapter 4. I'm gonna do one more. The original black Jews. The original black Jews. Let's see how this goes. Let's peruse. Chapter 4, the original black Jews. Originally, all Hamites and Shemites or Semites were black. Abraham was a black Shemite, and a descendant of Shem. The name of Abraham was Abram, before he was referred to as Abraham. Interesting sentence. The three Hebrew patriarchs were Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. These are all our kin, so take it all in. This Jacob begot 12 sons, who were later fathered 12 tribes of Israel. Abraham was the father not only of the Hebrew Israelite nation, but also of the Arab nation. We need to really recognize that sometimes. You know, I really think that sometimes slip our minds. Seriously. Abraham was the father of many nations, but it's interesting. We focus so much on Hebrew, so much on ourselves. You know, it's like, you know, the other nations were left on the shelf. Yeah, whatever. Now the mother and grandfather of the Abrahamic nation were black Hamite Egyptian women. And the fathers of the Arabian nation were Abraham and Ishmael, black Shemites. At a certain time, there were hard feelings between Sarah, Abraham's wife, and Hagar, Sarah's maidservant. So Hagar fled from Abraham's house and dwelt in the wilderness. Josephus, the Jewish historian, wrote that Ishmael married an Egyptian woman, and as a result, he begat 12 sons. Here we go. Nebajoth, Redar, Adhil, Mebsana, Mishma, Ditmar, Massa, Hadar, Temna, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These 12 sons became 12 tribes and inhabited the region from the Euphrates to the Red Sea in the Arabian Peninsula. This country is known today as Arabia. To those who do not believe that the ancient Arabians were black, I'd like to make one point crystal clear. If your mother and grandmother were black, I'm positive that you would have many colored features. Very interesting. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Israel were all black people. This I shall prove to you by a gradual method. After Joseph was sold down into Egypt as a slave, we find in the 42nd chapter of Genesis that he had become the viceroy of Egypt. Joseph's 10 brothers came into Egypt. Egypt is in Africa to buy corn because of a famine that was in the land. All newcomers who came into Egypt had to buy corn from Joseph. When Joseph's 10 brothers came to Africa, they did not recognize him. They didn't recognize Joseph because Joseph had grown up and the Egyptians were a black people like the sons of Jacob. Jacob's 10 sons considered Joseph to be another black Egyptian. Listen, let me dovetail with that description. You know, I think lately Egypt got up in arms because one of these stars here said that the Egyptians were black. I think it was Kevin Hart, as a matter of fact. And they skewered that Negro. They canceled his show. And they told that black man where he could go. And they go all out of their way to paint and totally say that Egyptians were kind of light-skinned and, you know, I mean, the story is paper thin. But then all we got to do is look within the scriptures. That's it. That's the end of the matter. Very interesting. I don't know. I drift. What do you want me to do? Where was I? All right. Sorry. All right. In many places the Bible we find. Many places I think that's where I was. Yes. Rambo's probably before. No. What? Oh, after Joseph sold down the river. Boom. All newcomers. Boom. Got that. They did not recognize him. Got that. Boom. We know this to be true because the 10 brothers returned and reported to their father. The man who is Lord of the land spoke roughly to us. Oh, did he? Well, you did sell him into slavery. I mean, you got me. I mean, he had, at first he cried. He had an attitude. He spoke roughly. You got a rough talk. You sold this dude into slavery. You got a rough talk, man. Furthermore, if Joseph had been white, it would have aroused the curiosity of his brothers very rapidly. We really do not need any more proof that the Israelites were black. But for the sake of argument, I'll offer it. In many places in the Bible, we find the sons of Jacob and the later Israelites taking black Canaanite women for wives. If the ancient Israelites were not originally black, they would be after the intermingling with black Canaanite men and women. Interesting. When the king Pharaoh of Egypt promulgated an edict to cast all of the Hebrew male babies into the Nile River, Marian and her mother hid the baby Moses in a basket alongside the river. Meanwhile, Pharaoh's daughter came down to the Nile to wash herself. Boom, saw a basket, there the baby, Moses, black child, black Pharaoh, black Pharaoh's daughter, we're done. I added that one. If Moses had been a white baby, it would have been difficult to conceal him from her father's anger. Pharaoh's daughter knew that the baby was a Hebrew and she adopted him. Yeah, I'm reading it backwards, huh? So, if in the period of Moses, the black Egyptians enslaved black Jews. Another point to prove that Jews were black is the leprosy laws written in the 13th chapter of Leviticus and explained in the 2nd chapter of this book, which we did not take a look. The strongest and most amazing phenomenon concerning biblical leprosy was the skin turned white. These laws of leprosy were given to the nation of Israel, and they could not apply to a white person, a white nation. Herbert Went wrote in his book, It Began in Babel, all indications point to the fact that Asia was the cradle of the black race. It is written in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 9. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garments were white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. The meaning of this verse is as follows. I beheld till the thrones were cast down. The thrones were placed down and erected. And the Ancient of Days did sit. The God of the universe is the Ancient of Days who sat on that throne. And the hair of his head was like pure wool. Daniel saw an anthropomorphic form of God judging the nations in the appearance of a venerable man with woolly hair, like a black man. Daniel, the prophet, and the people in his environment, the Babylonians, must have had woolly hair for him to dream of God having woolly hair. Many Israelites in biblical times intermarried with Canaanite, Hamite tribes, and if the Jews were not black, the Israelites became much darker of a surety after the intermingling. And I'm going to stop there because, hey, we're kissing 8 o'clock's butt. So I tell you what, look, I don't know that we need to go over too much more. I'm going to look through and tell you what will be in store for tomorrow's show at 7 a.m. Until then, let's say amen. No, let's not. Look, folks, this is vital information. The connective tissue between then and now, is astonishing somehow. I don't know. And I like reading it. I like summarizing it. I like reading it to you. And if you like reading it, as I do too, please don't hesitate to give to this effort. And I think the links to it are right down there. I got a new link, a new giveaway, a new give to me link. It's Cash App and Venmo, Doug Rice. So anytime you want to support this effort, that would be nice. All right, folks, that's it for me. I do appreciate your time and the time you took to see. Remember, we too have a sponsor as well, Twidware. But, The beginning of the show will tell you that. All right, folks, I got to go. It's almost 8. It is 8. Damn, it's too late. All right. The show was great. My name is Doug Rice. Thank you so much. I said it twice. I'm out of here. You guys take care. All right. I got to go. That was the show. Bye-bye. What? Shit. Always. You know, I get involved in the show's momentum. You know, it's just it's just a thing, and I apologize for that. But before I let you go on this Monday, some of you are on your way to work, listen, folks, it's getting serious out there. It's getting no joke, and there's no reason for you to have a smile on your face anywhere out in public space, and I mean that. If you found something, contenting about this place, unrelenting, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's on its way out. Of that, I have no doubt. They're cascading toward the door. Their butts are hitting the floor. I could say a lot more, but I got to go. So before I say goodbye from the Doug Rice Show, if you're going to be out in public places, do me a favor, get that goddamn grin off your faces. Yeah, I tried something new. What you going to do? Bye.